Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Everyday Green Home Podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser Close, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for you and our world. Welcome to the Everyday Green Home Podcast. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach, and I am enjoying this month. I am highlighting all these great women who have made a difference. And today's guest has definitely made a difference in my life personally, right here in Oklahoma City, and in the life of many. And this is Donna Miller, who is the founder of Purse Power. Donna, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So again, my name is Donna Miller, and I'm a former human resources executive, spent 30 years in corporate America. A few years ago, my sisters and I were on vacation, and my sisters are both doctors with MBAs. And we were talking about our frustration with the lack of women in senior leadership positions in corporate America, and the fact that 1 out of 4 women is impacted by domestic violence. Our mother was actually a survivor as an adolescent. So when we started talking about that problem and what could we do about it, we came to this blinding realization that women make 80% of all purchasing decisions. If we would choose collectively to buy from the companies that actively promote women, and we could create a funding stream for battered women's shelters in the process, we could shatter glass ceilings and change lives in a matter of quarters rather than decades. That's how the idea first started. And then quickly in January of 17, I saw the march going on in Washington, D.C., and I am apolitical, so I'm very much an independent, and this isn't a political thing for me. But I thought, oh my God, there they are. Those are the women that are going to care about what we're doing. So I went to Washington, D.C. with 30,000 buttons that said, Purse Power, we have it, let's use it, and set up a table. Within minutes, I had 6 volunteers come out of nowhere, and we gave away 30,000 buttons in 3 hours. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, there's something here.
I had no idea. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So those buttons are now all over the world. We've had people tell us just randomly where they've ended up, and they are in some great places worldwide. Since that time, we kind of gathered our friends and leaders throughout the country together and started doing presentations about what we were trying to create. And we actually pulled together a bunch of women in August of 2017, and those were our first investors. And since then, we've built a national platform of 750,000, actually more than that, women-owned and women-led businesses. So those are companies with either a female CEO or president, or companies that are half owned by women, or have at least 20% women on their board. We've created a Google Chrome extension with Carnegie Mellon that you can put on your Google Chrome browser, and it allows you to find those businesses when you're shopping online. And then we've also created phone apps that show you where the women-owned businesses are when you're physically near them. So what we're trying to do is just give information to the people at point of sale. If they want to support women with their purchases, we're trying to help them know who they might want to be buying from. And I want to make it really, really clear. I've got a husband and 2 sons, love men, love working with men. This is just about women using the power they already possess to drive the changes they've sought for decades, actually for 100 years.
Yeah. So I did not really realize, I hadn't thought about it, but when I first connected with you was pretty early in the formation of this. Mm-hmm. Wow. Because I remember being invited to one of the early surveys online right after I'd moved here, I guess. Because I moved here late 2016.
How about that? Absolutely.
Wow. I did not put all that together. And I love the Chrome extension. So for y'all that are not familiar with this, when you install this Chrome extension and you do a search, every company that you bring up in that search that is a Purse Power recognized company has a little logo, a little Purse Power logo next to it. And it's so surprising, some of the companies that pop up, Donna. And it's heartening to know that some of these companies that I have done business with or been involved with or carry a credit card with are recognized through purse power.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's surprising. And again, if it's just 20% women on their board, so I recognize that that's a relatively low bar, and you get a lot of companies nowadays who...
But it's a start.
It's a start. So we're just saying that women have a ton of economic power. We can come together and we can use it to drive change, and we can do it very rapidly if we'll act together.
Well, and in the quote unquote green and sustainability industry, there is a lot of the same kind of thought process going, and women also equate heavily with greener choices because of the health and wellness aspects, because I could give you a ton of reasons. It doesn't matter. We do it. And one of the really interesting conversations that came out of this is how people are shifting to vote with their pocketbook and their values.
Yes.
So that's such a perfect fit. If the shoe fits, wear it.
It's just so important. And it helps people feel empowered. I mean, the other thing is I was on the board of the Battered Women's Shelter. And those women, of course, are in really, really difficult spots. And part of how this started also is I thought we were begging for money. And I thought there's got to be a way to create a revenue stream for this. That's a big part of our DNA, too, something that we're trying to create. But even women in that situation still have economic power. They still are the ones going to the store. They're still the ones buying the groceries. So they can make a difference with their money.
You are the second guest I have interviewed this week that is connected with domestic violence. And you are the third conversation I've had this week about it. And it is such a huge issue. And I think so many people don't realize it.
1 out of 4 women have been impacted.
And with the pandemic, I know everybody's on edge.
Yeah.
And it's needed even more right now. So thank you for that work.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, we're still a startup, but we're trying to find every way we can to support the shelters. My son works for Jimmy John's, and they are giving me the bread, and I'm taking it over like a couple times a week. I mean, just support them. They need help. They really need help from all of us.
Right.
All the nonprofits are having a rough time right now.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it is. I mean, we've all gotten probably overexposed to the term that it's unprecedented times, yet it is. And we're all figuring things out. Although I have to say, I'm seeing some amazing ingenuity. And I'm giving you guys a sneak peek, but we're going to wait until after our break, which will still be a few minutes away, to talk about how you've impacted and pivoted with the pandemic. Because I love sharing all this creativity that has come about. And I've been online for a few years. Podcast I started back in 2016. So I kind of took it for granted. And now that I'm watching all these people adapt and learn and pivot, it's renewed my faith in everybody and in what I do, because I'm like, oh, this is cool. We're all using these great tools that I've been using for a few years. And now we're seeing massive amounts of people take advantage of this. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad you have that opportunity to reach out.
Me too.
So Donna, you keep talking about the power of connection, and you're very intentional about it. I can see how all these great people that you've gotten an opportunity to meet. How do you do it? How have you brought this together?
All right. So one of my theories about building a network and building connections is go at it from being helpful to the people that you're trying to reach and the people that you're trying to partner with. One of the things that has worked very, very well for me is to understand who I'm trying to get in touch with and what they want and what they need. And I find a way to bring them together to share best practices, share their insights, build a sense of community. Sometimes I bring in speakers that have some insights that they can use. And I create a community of people that are gaining support from one another, but I become the hub in the wheel. And that enables, I'm constantly looking for, you've got a need, you've got a service, you've got a product, let me put you two together. And I'm constantly doing that. But if there are people that you're trying to network with, figure out what they need and want and who's important to them, and then facilitate them getting what they want and getting what they need. And if you become that person, it's amazing the connections that you can make.
Yes. Now that you say that, I've had some of those experiences in my life, and I've met really cool people through those, and sometimes not intentionally, but a lot of them wanting to meet people. So great advice.
Yeah, and it's the attitude that works is not being selfish. It's a very giving attitude. It's how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? We just had a conversation a few minutes ago, kind of off air. And what I wanted to understand is who you needed to be put in touch with. And I'm going to try to help you connect.
And that's amazing. Thank you for that. And I hope I have the opportunity to return the favor.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And maybe we can connect with a lot of the green women. Oh, green women, they're not Mars. The women who own green businesses that I've connected with that should be connected with purse power. So maybe there's our opportunity right there.
There we go.
Okay, good deal. So Donna, you sound like you've really had a vision and that you've set out to go fulfill that vision. And as entrepreneurs, we're all in the same boat, right?
Right.
So what's been your magic?
Well, the thing that really, really worked for me and gave me insight into what I wanted out of my future was to take Stephen Covey's begin with the end in mind, literally. I literally went to a graveyard with a piece of paper. I said, I'm in the ground. What do I want my life to have been about?
Wow. Okay. That gives me goosebumps.
When I did that, you get rid of all of the extraneous stuff and you get at really to your core, who are you and what difference do you want to make in this world? For me, it was about wanting to make a difference for women. That's what I decided that I wanted to do with my life. And ever since then, that's exactly what I've been doing. So whether it's putting on the Women in Leadership Conference, which has now grown to 500 or 600 people attending a year, or bringing 2020 women on boards into our city, or Purse Power, everything is related to how can I make a difference for women? And the thing that I didn't want to have happen at the end of my life is I didn't want to look back and say, I could have, I should have, and I didn't. I didn't want to say that. So the other thing I've learned, I'm an executive coach too by training, is that people on their deathbed, they don't regret what they did do. They regret what they didn't do. And so for me, it was about go for it. Try it. You know, what is it? Fortune favors the bold.
There you go.
So just those two things in combination, figure out what your life is all about, plan backwards from there, and be bold.
There you go.
In trying to accomplish the difference that you want to make in this world.
What is it? Be the change you want to see?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. That's an amazing story. Well, hey, we're at a good point to take a quick break, y'all. And stay tuned because, Donna, I'm so excited to share what you have been doing during the pandemic. So be right back, folks.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Marla Close, the Green Home Coach, and I am the author of Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices for a Better Home. And in this book, besides talking about a bunch of stuff about green and sustainability products and practices you can easily take in your home, I also talk about home maintenance and how important this is to having a home that serves you rather than you serving it. Seasonal home maintenance checklists are a big part of this, and I teamed up with colleague Tina Gleisner from Home Tips for Women to use her maintenance checklist, actually included in the book, starting on page 96. And if you have the book, look them up. But I wanted to give you a brief excerpt from the book to get you excited about why home maintenance checklists, I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but why they are so important. So, maintaining a home is actually a 3-part ongoing process. Inspect, maintain, and update. To help you keep track of what you've done and plan to do, make notes on the checklist. First, inspect. If you've only got an hour to spare, pick one exterior side of the house or one room inside to inspect. Note the date you did this on the checklist and flag items needing maintenance or repairs so you can schedule time or make a list for your handyman or handy woman. Second, maintain. Keep your home safe, such as smoke detector batteries. Keep your home energy efficient, like furnace air filters, and prolong the useful life of many home features, like caulking bathroom tile. Write it down when you complete a task, keeps you from guessing later on. And third, update. Take advantage of improved materials and fixtures. Upgrade to new building codes, and evaluate when it makes more sense to make an improvement rather than repair, such as replacing a bathroom floor rather than repairing the grout. Check out the book or give me a holler and I'll hook you up online to get the maintenance checklist for yourself. If you'd like to have the entire book, please go to livinggreenbook.com for a multitude of ways to purchase it for yourself. Thanks again. This is Marla, the Green Home Coach. Well, chatting away with Donna of Purse Power today. And Donna, I'm loving getting I thought I knew you fairly well. And I'm like, I love getting surprises and learning things that I didn't know about people. So it's always fun to learn something you didn't know.
It is.
But one of the things I really wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about is you started something at the beginning of the pandemic that has, I think, really become an anchor for you. And we were talking earlier, I think I was on the first or second occurrence of this, and I didn't realize it at the time. And anyway, talk about what you're doing and how it came to be.
Okay, absolutely. So when the pandemic occurred, I realized that the female entrepreneurs who are part of our network were going to be struggling. Everybody was going to be struggling. And I really wanted to understand what their issues were, and I wanted to be there to support them. I really did. And for us to support each other. So we created a webcast called Let's Share the Journey. Initially, it was just entrepreneurs who were interested in what we were doing, and I was trying to pick the entrepreneurs that had some skill sets that everybody else could learn from, and still want to do that. I want to give the folks that are involved with us publicity and visibility and all of those things. We had about, 6 or 8 of them, and then we started going after national level speakers. So I was lucky enough to get Phyllis Newhouse. She's amazing. She's an African-American veteran cybersecurity company owner who is probably one of the top 10 female entrepreneurs in the world. And she came on our show, and she has a heck of a journey to talk about. So what I do is I ask these people about their journey and their learnings and their insights. And these are amazing people. And then we've had people like Scott Omnianuk. He's the editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine. We've had Camille Burns. She's the CEO of the Women Presidents Organization. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to go after some of the leading thinkers in the nation. I had Mae Snowden on. She's a leading thinker about diversity and equality. And what I'm wanting to do is give people access to some of the most amazing speakers we can get our hands on. So like Scott, the week I had him on my program, the week before, he'd been on a webcast where there were 10,000 attendees.
Whoa.
Okay? And then he came on mine, and people are interacting him with directly. He's a really nice guy, and people got to ask their questions directly of the editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine. So that's the experience that I'm trying to create. So support each other and get access to these wonderful resources.
So do you think that a lot of people are becoming more accessible during the pandemic because we're all feeling, a friend of mine used to always use the phrase, rising tides raise all boats. And I feel like there's kind of that feeling right now. Do you think that's why a lot of these really superstars are making themselves so accessible?
I really do. It's a new world for all of us. And it's interesting because operating from our homes kind of has leveled the playing field, to your point. And even Scott or Phyllis or whatever are operating from their homes. And so you get this really kind of nice, candid, down-to-earth response out of people that are these major, major players. And yes, I agree with you. I'm getting access to people. It's surprising me who I'm able to get on my show.
Yeah. This other podcast that I'm a part of that hasn't launched yet, we are bringing in some really amazing big name celebrities. And the person that's helping us get them is very well connected and knows a lot of these folks or their PR people. But I am astonished. I'm seeing a superstar list similar to what you're saying. And I hadn't thought about it until right now, actually, that everybody is really making themselves more accessible.
And they want to give back and they care. And we're all kind of in this together.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. And all of their handlers and all of the layers and everything else are in a state of change too, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, if people can do this from their home or from their office or whatever, and we can use Zoom and we can create these programs and we can get our messages out, that's a whole new thing in terms of leveling the playing field.
Yeah, we have I think Zoom has now become a verb.
Yes, I know. My husband said I was going to get on another Zoom call, and he goes, "You're a Zoomer."
I know.
I actually put a post up that said, "I'm not a boomer anymore. I'm a Zoomer."
A Zoomer. I guess we could be Zoomer boomers.
Zoomer boomers. There you go. Actually, I looked that up this morning. I went and looked up that domain. Somebody's got it already.
Oh, rats.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the future, is bright. So we have these calls every Friday at 10 Central. What we're going to be doing on the 18th, which is kind of cool. I just had Lucy Lynch and Marcia Major come on my show. They are the authors, playwrights, and actresses in a 2-woman play called Money Talks, But What the Hell Is It Saying? And we're going to have them come on the 18th, and we're going to do a 2-hour session from 10 to 12. And we're actually going to watch the program. And we're going to have Lucy and Marcia help facilitate the discussion.
Oh, cool.
And it's about this relationship between people and their feelings of self-worth and money.
I watched their trailer after you sent out the kind of pre-introduction. And oh my gosh, they look like they are just really making an impact and with some humor.
Right. They're funny. They've described it as a TED Talk meets Broadway.
Well, there's times that I think we all feel like we either need to laugh or cry. And, that emotional release that comes through either of those. And I love it that they are helping us to laugh.
Yes, absolutely. And they care so deeply about this. I mean, I think it's also their trials and tribulations and their journey and their ups and downs. That's what it's about, right?
Right.
And we can all relate, particularly right now. And it's uplifting to say, hey, you can make it. Stick together, support each other. We'll make it.
Yeah. And this is a time we were talking about this, I don't know, yesterday, day before. My days all run together now. How we support each other has changed somewhat. And, we missed the hug. We missed that personal face-to-face, but we're finding ways around it. And we're finding ways to not necessarily substitute, but to create other ways of interacting to kind of fill that gap. And I think this connection to big stories and big inspiration and big humor in the case of the 18th, I think that's really instrumental and really helpful.
It is. Well, and as particularly for female entrepreneurs, they sometimes don't understand that everybody's going through that same journey. They feel alone. They feel unsupported.
That's women.
Yeah. And they don't know that, hey, there's a whole community of people going through the same thing. And in reality, part of what you can do, and what I have done, is find these women that are further down the path than you are, right? And I'm trying to share their stories. So they've been there, done that, experienced some of the same things you are, and look where they are now. It's a positive, constructive, uplifting.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So how do you choose the guests that you bring on to Let's Share the Journey?
It has to do with both the key message that they can share and also who I can get access to be honest. So because of the Women Presidents Organization, Phyllis Newhouse has been recognized as one of the top women in the world, entrepreneurs in the world. She's got one of the 50 fastest growing women-led businesses and has had it for like 7 or 8 years in a row. She was awarded at WPO, so I had enough of a connection that I could kind of get to her. Does that make sense? And I talked to the OU students last night, and the network is everything. The network is really, really important. So I find that it is about who you know and who they know, and having a warm introduction to some of these people makes a gigantic difference in being able to connect with them.
Good advice.
So,
And for someone that doesn't have that network yet, what would you advise they do?
So one of the things that I've done throughout my career that has really worked for me is if there's people that I want to know, they may not care about me, but there's other people that they do want to know. And I have acted as the hub and the connector for connecting people with each other. For example, when I wanted to meet some of the senior women in our town, I bought a luncheon from my kids' school. They had an auction, and I bought a luncheon from my kids' school at the governor's mansion with the governor's wife. I then invited, 20 of the most influential and high-profile women in my state that I could to this luncheon. Well, they all came, right? And now I got to know them and then created a way for them to connect on an ongoing basis. And what I did is I brought in speakers and I brought up things of interest to them. But the main thing I was doing for them was being a connector between them and others they wanted to know. Does that make sense? And that has been very effective. So if you can figure out how to get people's needs met, figure out how you can help them, constantly be looking for what can I do for you? And use your connections. Okay, you've got a skill set and somebody else has got a need. Let me put you two together. You do that enough and you become the hub of the wheel.
Awesome advice. Hang tight, y'all. We'll be right back with more great advice. 5 myths of green homes. 5 things that you probably believe about green homes that may be costing you thousands of dollars. Which myth do you hear the most? Get your copy of 5 Myths at greenhomecoach.com and click on the button for 5 Myths of Green Homes. You can also connect with me on Facebook at Green Home Coach and let me know the green home myth you hear the most. I'll also share tips, products, and resources. Be sure to download your copy of 5 Myths of Green Homes now, and then check back to learn more. So back with Donna of Purse Power, and I have a feeling that the people that help me behind the scenes with this podcast are probably chuckling because our offline conversations probably pretty enlightening. But I love what you were talking about before our break about how people can connect and reach out. And while we were on break, you made a very astute comment about how actually the pandemic has really kind of helped level the playing field with our technology options. And would you share what we were saying with our listeners?
Yeah. So we were talking about our networks and taking 30 years to build, and you were very connected in the city that you came from and knew everyone, and trying to replicate those connections in a new city is a rough thing to do. And part of the way I responded was, I think that Zoom is allowing us to connect with those same people in a new way, but everybody's having to use that platform to connect, right? So nobody can get together in person anymore. So I think if I were in your position, I'd be going back to that network that I had in the old city and just making sure that I was really, really connected there. In addition, I think it enables you to build out connections across the country. You and I were talking about the fact that there's people that we've met online that we've never met in person. What I used to do when I would travel, right, is if I was going to a city for any reason, I would go look up, who do I know here? And then I would try to schedule a lunch and a coffee and dinner with you.
Such a great idea.
So to remain in contact. So you don't want to be approaching your network when you need something. You're wanting to build the relationship and the rapport over time. And then later, when something's going on, then they're a friend, they're a colleague. They want to help. You want to help them.
Yeah, there's a few of my current colleagues who are pretty influential in my work that I met online and did not meet in person for a year or two. And by the time we met, we were already business friends. And ironically enough, those two we all three worked at IBM at some point in our careers. So it was kind of strange.
I'll be darned.
Do. But that connection, finding that connection with somebody, like with LinkedIn in particular. And I loved the lady that you brought in for the LinkedIn training early in the Let's Share the Journey call. I implemented some of the things that she talked about, and she was awesome.
Very good.
But LinkedIn is such a handy tool. And I have a very dear personal and business friend in St. Louis who is a LinkedIn guru. I can't know he's like a sensei. I can't tell you that word right.
You got to have him on your show. Have him on your show.
But he is like the master of LinkedIn. And anytime I have a LinkedIn question or how to do a search or how to find people or how to fine tune something, he's my go-to. And I can sit there and watch him work. I mean, he has 2 monitors on his desk and he just goes to work. And it's like watching a maestro conduct a symphony. It's incredible.
Wow.
But what that really showed me was the power of that network. And that virtual network, when you combine that with your personal capabilities and interactions and what you were saying, what can you do for other people? That's a very powerful combination.
It is. I mean, I know if you do that and you say, how can I help you? And you're constantly asking, how can I help you? You can connect them with other people that have something that they need or that they can provide. And then you're adding value in the middle of that. And it's very gratifying to do. And you're helping 2 different people and you're building rapport and relationships with them as well. It's just a strong way to go at it, I think.
I would agree. So lots of ways to get involved with Purse Power.
Yes. Yes.
And let's make sure we leave everybody with those so they know what to do. We still have a few minutes, folks, but I want to make sure, because getting access to these resources is so important. And I want to make sure you guys know how to do that.
Okay, perfect. So our website is pursepower.com, like a woman's purse, pursepower.com. We always put up a link to these webinars that we're doing, or webcasts, whatever you want to call them, every Friday at 10 Central. So it's always on our homepage, and you just click on it and you can register from there. If you want to go to the Let's Share the Journey tab on our website, we've got all of our recordings of all of our shows. So we've got some tremendous, amazing speakers with some really insightful things to say, and it's a great way to spend your time to click on the links and listen to a few of those folks. In addition to that, we would love to have you register your business. If you have a business where you are the CEO or president, female CEO or president, or the company's half owned by women, or you have at least 20% women on the board, I want you in our directory. So you can have a free listing. You can also upgrade your listing and add bells and whistles to it for a very reasonable price. In addition to that, we've got our Google Chrome extension. So if you go to the website, there's a little red arrow pointing at the apps, and that's where our Google Chrome extension is, and that's where our phone apps are. So you can download them from there. So what I would ask is that you list your business if you have one. Please use Purse Power to find and buy from women-owned and women-led companies. Put the Google Chrome extension on your computer and download our apps. And then we'd love to have you register for these Friday Let's Share the Journey calls. And then on the 18th, again, we're going to have a terrific one with Lucy Lynch and Marcia Major. And I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I hope you can make that one. So on September 18th.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to be able to make the live one, but I am definitely watching the recording of that one.
Good.
Definitely. Yeah, their story was really cool. I appreciate what they're doing and that they're sharing it with so many people. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So I'm just kind of curious, how many companies do you think are registered through Purse Power? You probably know that off the top of your head.
Yeah, we've got 758,000 companies. Actually, yes. So there's 758,000 companies on our directory.
Holy moly.
Not all of them know they're there. Okay. So we've got women-owned companies that we put in our directory that we found various places. And then people can claim their listing or they can sign themselves up.
Okay.
And a part of what we're focusing on as a technology company, obviously, is with all of the change going on and all the businesses starting, going out of business, changing, moving, closing, we've got to really make sure our data is clean, and we're figuring out from a technology standpoint how to do that. But I think that we can really make a difference if we will buy from the companies that support women. That's the fastest way to drive change in this country, in my opinion.
Well, you're voting your values.
Yep.
You definitely are.
If we're able to say to Wall Street, once women know, or once people know which companies support women, they're changing their buying behavior by X millions of dollars. That's the thing that will, just make a difference. We've been marching for 100 years, and it really hasn't changed that much. So what else can we do? And I think it's use economics.
And there's so much research that shows that companies that have high levels of women involvement, the higher the involvement, the better the companies seem to do.
They actually perform better. There's research that proves it. If you've got some women in leadership, if you've got some kind of equitable representation, you perform better as a company.
They weather the storms better.
Yeah, and I don't know why shareholders aren't screaming bloody murder about asking for more women on the board if those companies perform better.
You have to wonder if it's because they haven't connected the dots.
Probably. And again, I think men and women are partners. We're absolutely partners, 100%. And I think this is a joint effort, right? And it's in everyone's interest. If you're in a leadership position in a company, it's in everyone's interest to have additional women on your board or in your senior leadership team. If you're going to perform better, that's better for everybody.
Right.
Why wouldn't everybody want that?
And then that could be a whole couple of other conversations.
Yeah.
So what is your goal for the next year or so?
We've got some big dreams. So we'll see. It's an interesting time to be doing this, but we were talking with some very big players in the technology world. We've got an advisor who is really, really, really connected. So we're trying to see what kinds of possibilities might be there. They're going to advise us about our next steps as Purse Power. There's also a big grant. I don't know if you know that Melinda Gates and Mackenzie Bezos and the Lynn and Charles Schusterman Foundation Family Foundation have created an Equality Can't Wait fund to try to fund big projects that hopefully will drive some change.
Nice.
In this country. So we're trying to see what we can do about that. And then we just want to continue to make our platform better and better and better. I want Let's Share the Journey to be something very, very valuable for women entrepreneurs, and we'll take it from there. I think the end point has not yet been defined.
Well, as a woman entrepreneur, I personally thank you for that. And
well, thank you.
I am so appreciative of all you do and how you are reaching out. And I appreciate you being a woman in my life that has truly made a difference.
Thank you so much for having me. And I value what you're doing. You're getting the word out too, and you're making a difference.
It takes a village.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And it's amazing if we come together, how much we can do.
I agree.
And support each other. So thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll support you too.
Amazing parting words. Thank you.
All right.
Well, that's a wrap, folks. Catch us next episode. And Donna, thank you again for your time and all your contributions.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home Podcast. Ready to use what you learned? Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening and for leaving a review. And remember that living a little better and greener is easier than you think.